Welcome back to the Incredible Conversations podcast, soon to be changing to the Isabelle Wellman podcast. That will be happening for February 1st. So have that in your spectrum that if you're looking for the Incredible Conversations podcast after February 1st, you won't be able to find it. But thankfully, I'm Isabelle Wellman, and it will be pretty easy to find that way. So that is very exciting in my realm of the world. You will also realize that along with the new name will come a new intro, a new outro, a new cover, and it will encompass all of the things that dial in the niche of body, mind, and soul alignment. And it takes all three of these to live a balanced life, just like with a triangle. And you can think of whichever body, mind, soul in whatever order because they're all equal in importance. And you can't just have one really strong and heavy because eventually you'll realize that without the balance of all three, that one side will take over. You might feel overwhelmed or stressed or unfulfilled in the other areas of life. And that is this repeating cycle of feeling like we are not doing enough. So we have to hustle. And then when we hustle, we get burned out. And then when we get burned out, we quit. We have a breakdown. We fall apart. We just have to stop doing what we're doing. And that is not how I wish to live. And this podcast is going to be transforming into giving you the tools that will continue to help you balance your life in body, mind, and soul. And I'm really excited. The most important part of it is that once you have that flame lit, you have your candle lit, you have that little spark hit the firewood, and you get your little flame, you keep fueling the fire. And it will get bigger, warmer. And once you find a point of the perfect fire for you, and you will know this for yourself, you cannot look outside of yourself or ask anyone else what the perfect size flame is, only you know. And for me, it's a flame that it's a traditional campfire. It's a little bigger than your traditional, but you feel the warmth. You can step back away from it. You can engage with everyone around the circle because you feel so warm and alive and fiery and passionate. And so you know you can keep going. And that is the whole point. Once you let that fire burn out, people retreat, they get in their sleeping bags, they go back inside, they get ready for bed, and they shut down. Not in a terrible way, but it's so much harder to start again once you just quit or once you hit burnout. So, I really am moving into a preventative way of not crashing and burning, but to stay engaged, stay fuel, and follow your all encompassing potential. It's very fabulous. And if you tuned in to last week's podcast, the new date or day of the week for the podcast to be released is Wednesdays. I'm switching it up. For the past year, I was aiming to do Mondays every week, and I want to experiment. So it is now going to be on Wednesdays where you get your new episode, Hump Day, which is so much fun. It has to be fun, or else it's not worth it. And if you did listen to last week's pod, you know that January's theme is all about the long game and what that means and how we can act in accordance to that way of life, to the long game. And this is, the umbrella for January, February, and March because we're not technically in Aries season, which is the first of the zodiac, which is the beginning of the year, which makes sense because it's spring. Everything is new, coming back to life. It makes no sense that we think Capricorn season or the dead of winter is the going to get my resolution on point, which is, exciting and great. But the buzz dies after Capricorn season goes away around the, let's see, 21st of January, 20th, 21st, 22nd, give or take. Because we go into Aquarius season. It's a heady month. We're reinventing ourselves. We're continuing to go through, revise, and go back to that podcast, listen to it. You'll hear all about why this is such a integrative time and a healing time. All the retrogrades, the retro shades, Pluto, it's a big mix. So, when we can give ourselves this life review from the new year unto March 19th, 20th, 22nd, then we're truly giving ourselves that time to prepare for what's to come until the next Aries season. And with this revision, this reflection, this healing, integrative, acknowledging of and going into this insecurities, getting really clear in what it is you want to begin to formulate a plan of attack around, of intention that fits your life, that is suitable for you and your nervous system, most importantly, then you are ready. And then, bah, you get all this chi, all this energy runs through your body, and you are ready to take on life. And I'm so excited for Aries season. Last Aries season, I started my very first membership, the Conscious Alignment Method membership, and I'm giving that a big twist because I want to separate my movement clients from my astrology clients and focus on it in a new way. If someone wants personal training, movement with it, I'm happy to supply it in addition, but it is going to be different moving forward starting in March. And I'm so excited to get this finalized so that I can welcome in a new group of marvelous human beings. So thank you. And today, what we are talking about is why most people fail to create habit change for their New Year's resolution, the psychology around that, and how we can actually have habits stick so that they can transform our lives, so that we can step into that new identity, so that we can work on it for these first few months of this Gregorian year, so that when Aries season comes, we're ready. We're full-fledged, we're animal, we're beast mode. I mean, doesn't it make sense to me that we work up to that? And knowing that feeling to heal isn't always going to work for everyone because safety needs to be at large, present, it needs to be first. And feeling safe is a very large proponent to showing up for yourself consistently, daily, and honestly, when you feel safe, you trust. And when you trust yourself, you trust what you put trust in. You trust that you train the dog. You trust that your child isn't going to do X, Y, and Z. You trust that your fridge is full of healthy foods. You trust. And so you don't have to worry and escalate the issues moving outwards. So we'll start with why most people fail to create habit change. My expectation and goal for this is to teach you how to habit stack. And habit stacking is a game changer if you're someone who really wants to start incorporating a new way of living and whatever amount that is. Maybe it's one thing, one tiny thing, and that is beautiful. Maybe you're an overachiever. That's okay. I'm still going to limit you to two things because the less you have to worry about integrating and transforming, the less rickety, rockety, and inconsistent it will be. The more consistent, the more fulfilling, the more seamless it will go. Yeah? So, why most people fail to create change? We'll use the New Year's resolution as an example for this because we're in that Gregorian transition. But a study shows that on average, only 9 to 12% of people successfully stick to their New Year's resolutions. From the data collected from a study from 2016, only 9%. And a study from 2007 showed that only 12% were successful in their resolutions. And that's from Brig News. And another statistic, 43% of all people expect to fail before February. 43%. And almost 1 out of 4 quit within the first week of setting their New Year's resolution. If that was you, that's okay. That's why you're listening to this podcast. We're going to change your mentality and how you view this, how you perceive this, so it doesn't feel guilty or shameful that it's a New Year's resolution and you expected yourself to carry out this act for 365 days without any prior prep, knowledge, or understanding of your own psychology. Continuing with the study, most people quit before the end of January, and only 9% see their resolutions through until succession. So that was from Inside Out Mastery. And those are just a couple of stats to give us a little eye opening view on what is going on. Now, let's go beyond our social normalities and get to the root of why we feel so called, maybe pressured, to have a New Year's resolution. So, why do you even want to set one in the first place? Why? Why? Get clear with yourself. Close your eyes if you can, just check in for a second, 5 seconds. Why is it so important to you? There's no right or wrong answer. But if you don't know why, we got an issue. And have you ever finished a New Year's resolution in the past for the full 365 days? This isn't to feel guilty about or shameful about. This is to take and acknowledge your reality and where you stand in coherence with your identity, and not just who you are now, but who you want to become. And if you even understand what that looks like and what that is going to take. This is literally having conscious awareness, taking a step back, forgiving yourself for whatever comes up, and taking it with a grain of salt, moving forward. And as you know, listening to the last episode, I gave the lowdown on why creating a resolution and not fulfilling it is damaging to who you are. And that taking steps towards accomplishing what you want in 2023 is going to look different. And it's not going to look speedy and quick and hustle mode. That is old news. This year is really calling us into sloth speeds, where we are being asked to be so present with what we're experiencing, what we're being mirrored back to us, how we're creative, where we get into our flow state, how much we can focus. Like, how much time can you focus on what you want to do? Because we're getting so deep into the media, the social medias, that our time span of focus has drastically dropped. If you're not a reader, if you are someone who doesn't have a consistent workout regimen, if you don't have something where if you don't have a meditation practice, if you do not just solely focus for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours out of your day, maybe in different increments of your day, if you're not spending that time to focus long term, yet you're spending these little chunks on 2 to 15-second videos on TikTok, 1 to 3 minute videos, even YouTube's things that are under 30 minutes. We are cutting our fucking mind space, our ability to focus and to achieve and to have success. So stick with me because we're in that year of receiving and integrating, as I've been talking about. And it's a very spiritual time because we have the planet of Saturn, which is responsibility, routine, the way of doing things being pushed into Pisces, which we got a taste of the last 2 years, having Neptune in its home planet Pisces, dreams being messengers, excuse me, maybe being more inclined to look into spiritual practices, maybe feeling called to astrology or human design or God or universe or whatever religious practice or understanding or following that feels best for you, that just gets you closer into a relationship with spirit. Because we're all souls. We are all souls. We are all energy. We all have cells. Plants have cells. The food we eat has cells. Animals. It's all one and the same. We're all working together. And so there's this big theme of artsy, healing, safety, resourcing, community, coming together, supporting, and journeying. And it's really exciting. So the 411 is not to go head first like a bull quite yet. We're not in 2024, 25, 26. No, no, no. We're in Pisces. This is the year of cycles, the next 2.5 years. Year of cycles, ending, beginning, death, rebirth, coming to our fruitions, letting ourselves tap into these psychic and spiritual abilities that we all possess. Yet, if we're not given the chance or the space to explore and have a flexibility growing up to take on our own dogmas, basically, to not question the dogmas of the social normalities, oops, well, we might feel restricted or hesitant or I believe in science, maha, kind of mentality, which is not bad. But we also need to have this balanced relationship with the mind and the soul because your body and your mind are not the only two things working here in real life. So if you're trying to push, 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 you'll find yourself bloody, broken, and unfulfilled. Shocker. Not. So hustle's not the way. Let go of the hustle just for a moment for this podcast and sit with yourself and see what usually leads you to feeling in your body, feeling what's right, feeling what you should do next, what excites you, what levitates you, what gets you passionate, spunky, perky, a little aroused, and full of life. And what's going to help us lead this year, moving with these more feminine aspects, feminine energies, operating systems, may I say, is going to be self discipline, respect, knowing where you are in your self actualization, and sticking to your rituals. It's having an overall standard for your life. So let's go into a couple of definitions for me, what I think these things mean, so we're on the same page. To me, a ritual can be defined as any practice or patterns of behavior regularly performed in a set manner. So, when it's a new moon or full moon, I personally have a set operation system for how I go through a little ceremony so that I can connect with myself, with nature, with my cyclical pattern, and see what's going on. See what's coming up for me, what needs to be released, celebrated, set as an intention, all of the things. So, this could look like for a new moon, setting up a little altar, having all the elements fire, air, earth, water, lighting a candle, getting into a meditative state with my journal nearby, maybe some tarot cards or some archangel cards, whatever I feel called to intertwine with this. And I go deep into reflection. What happened over the last 2 weeks during the last moon cycle? Where am I now? What do I want to bring forth for the next 2 weeks? How can I journal and write to myself to connect deeper? What am I feeling? And so once I set it up and I meditate, I journal, I pull a card, and I dance afterwards to really move my physiology and incorporate it into my beingness. So that's a ritual, in my opinion. And that is how, it can change a little bit here and there, but it's just like going to the gym. What you do when you wake up, what you do before you go to bed. Very important to have rituals. These set your standards. Self discipline, I define it as the practice of training yourself to follow your internal amendments, in quotations, or in other words, your moral compass, your GPS, what I love to talk about all the time. It's an activity, exercise, or regimen that develops or improves a skill. So, an example is going to the gym. Y'all know I love the gym. Jim is my best friend. He and I got a great relationship. We're committed, we're consistent, and although I might feel sore for the next few days, I love going back. That sounds so funny if you didn't know I was talking about the space of the gym. But my discipline to that is I show up even when I don't fucking want to. And that is something I have trained in my brain over 15 years of being obsessed with the gym. That did not start out in a healthy way. You can read more about that on my website in the About Me section and about how I got started. But as I grew up and as I gained more awareness and consciousness, and I got clarified with my why and have gone back to see the evolution of my why, because God, I sure hope it's not the same from 14 years old to 27 years old, 26 years old. I get to celebrate and I get to go, ah, yes, this is now on my horizon. Ah, yes, this is why I show up. Ah, yes, this is why it matters so much. And so I now know the importance of recovery days and how to mobilize and how to take an active rest day so that I continuously improve my skills. And I show up to the gym not seeking out this max rep for everything I do. I am seeking the ability to continue to practice and to refine my skill, to refine my depth, to refine my range of motion, to refine my explosive power and in all of the movements. So the more I get to go, the more I get to practice, the more practice I have, the better I'm going to feel, the stronger I'm going to feel, and then I'm going to feel like an animal. And I'm going to want to keep going back because now I'm psychologically seeing this image in the mirror that I'm really fond of. I'm like, "Ooh, yeah." And I'm not obsessed with my image in the mirror, but when you come from a place of feeling insecure, unconfident, and then you come to this place of feeling secure, confident, love the body you're building because you are an active component in it, there's a lot psychologically that does for you because you're looking in the mirror, you're like, man, I can lift more than that person. I'm stronger than them. And this posture, this way you hold yourself, this way you think of yourself is so supportive, loving, nourishing. There is no way you won't transform. And that is the best way I can describe self discipline in my own words. So, because I talk about this so often, we're going to go into the values just very briefly. Your moral compass, your GPS, that goals, your power, your potential, and the success that follows because you are repeating repetition, a big key. You're repeating this way of being. So, if you're not sure of what you say yes and no to, if it's unclear, if you're just doing it to do it, if you're just having a heyday, you're crossing your boundaries, you don't even know why you're doing what you're doing, there's a big problem because you're living unconsciously. Sure, if you don't care about living consciously, keep doing it. Yet, that's not exactly serving yourself, nor serving the rest of humanity. And that's what I'm passionate about. That's probably why you're here, so that you can learn how you can better yourself, so that you can better your corner of the world. I am so obsessed with that. Your corner of the universe, so that you can impact those people, and then it continues to spread bigger and bigger and bigger until one day we are all together impacting the universe. And it's a beautiful image in my mind. That's my little Libra rising who wants world peace. So, without this compass, you'll say yes and no to things you might not actually want, or you will be saying no to what you don't want, or what you do want, and saying yes to what you want or what you don't want. And you'll just never know where you're at. So it's listening to your own code of conduct. And you are the only one who can define this. So once you have that done and cleared away, go find the podcast about it. It's already recorded. Have at it. Go on my YouTube. It's there. You can start reviewing your life. So here are some questions you can write down to review your life now. Who do I want to become? Who do I want to become? Put it out there. Stop holding back. Just let it out. If you can begin to trust yourself and feel safe in acknowledging your deepest desires, no matter what they are, no matter how bizarre, no matter how unrealistic, you will actually see, whoa, that's inside of me. That's really powerful. That's really exciting. That's really strong. That's brilliant. That's sexy. And you can just witness it. No one's asking you to take action right away. Witness. Then, next question. What actions do I take in a day that get me closer to becoming that human I want to be? And then list them. Maybe you don't take actions that bring you closer to that. Wow, light bulb. Now you get to go into your life and start going, well, if I want to be that, I will need to do X, Y, and Z. Next question. What actions keep me separate from becoming who I want to be? So you can write down the negative ones there. You can go into deeper depth. Why do you perform them? What makes you perform them? Is it your environment, the people you hang out with, your boss, your lack of support? Write it down without blaming anyone outside of yourself, because you are the ultimate chooser. Let's not forget that. Self responsibility here, big one for this year, as always. Why do I take these actions in the first place? Is it a safety mechanism? In parentheses, is this complaining, restating your old story, worrying about the outcome of everything? Because this is such a safe place for you to be and it's just so natural, you just go there. Instead, what if you could have gratitude? What if you could go through a process, whether that's with an astrologer, a therapist, an embodiment worker, a coach, a human design practitioner, doctor, whoever it is for you, who you feel safe with, a friend, a parent, a loved one of any kind. If you could go through an embodiment session or just go through some old experiences that you're not so fond of and go and re-experience them the way you want to experience them, and then reestablish, I can give myself that now. I am a young adult, I'm an adult. I can do this. I have the power. I trust myself. I'm safe in my own body. And I can now integrate this into my life instead of repeating the old, worn out story. Next, who would I be if I let those stories, complaints, patterns, experiences go? Of course, not just feeling and healing, but integrating them, truly going in and witnessing what you needed that you did not receive, what expectation you had as a child, as a young one, that you didn't know any better about, that your parents, your caretakers could not have known any better about because of how they grown up and their parents' parents and their parents' parents' parents, and that whole dang ancestral trauma BS that is so relevant. And How can you be the one to break it off and start the new path, start the new journey? And yes, it is, our brains are like, when you're so wired for years and years and years on complaining, comparing, restating the old stories, patterns, experiences, worrying, that is a natural safe place for you to go. Your brain says, nope, everything else is dangerous. Who am I going to be if I don't have these things to cling on to? This is my identity. So that is why you create your identity, so you can realize you don't need those old stories, patterns, and experiences to rely on. Sure, you can share them because they tell the story of where you've been to where you've gone, where you're going, but you don't use them to get where you're going. You just next. So, last question. What kind of relationship do I have with my own reputation? Am I more concerned about how I think of myself or how others think of me? Do I need to say it? If you do not have a good reputation with yourself, if you care about what everyone else on the outside world thinks of you more than how you think of you and your relationship with you, your reputation with keeping promises to yourself, staying on track, showing up with you, we're getting into some rocky slopes, slippery slopes, because you will never, ever, ever feel fulfilled from measuring yourself against external people, places, things. It just won't happen. You'll always feel like you've never done enough, like you are not successful, which is so untrue. You have to measure yourself against yourself. Where did you come from? Like I just said. And all of these questions can help you discover your moral compass and how you can lead with discipline moving forward. Aside from having rituals, the discipline, you can begin in caring about your own reputation with yourself, you begin to formulate the standard for your life. And goals are great, but most people won't strive to accomplish their goals because they're these far-fetched ideas. But if you have a standard for how you're living, that is your automatic response. That is what you get to create into your automatic way of being in this world, in this life. And that is a way more sustainable and long lasting transformational process than just setting a goal, seeing it from afar, never taking a step towards it, or taking very teeny steps and like, oh yeah, I'm just kind of floating through life, doing all these other tendencies I'm used to, but having this big idea. Well, you will not transform watching Netflix, eating junk food, not cooking food for yourself, not getting outside, misbehaving with your promises, letting yourself down. It will not happen. It's not handed to you. And I am going to rip that band-aid off real fast. Reality. And that's just how it is. And you know that you don't have standards or you're living an aimless life if your standards are unclear, confusing, and unconscious, even after all those questions. Or if you're not going through the questions I just gave to you and you're dispelling them, well, that's you choosing to live aimlessly, which is basically living a dead life. Because where's the potential coming from? What are you going to achieve? What are you going to succeed in? And it's not just always about succeeding and accomplishing, but it's showing yourself you are worthy of what you want, that you get to live up to your dream beingness in this lifetime. And it doesn't get to, like, it doesn't have to be hard and risky and hustle bustle. It gets to be however you want it to be and however you believe it can be. And if your standards are clear, direct, conscious, that's living the transformative life. So to go a little bit deeper, adding rituals, discipline, standards are going to allow you to make the mark on your habits. And this is how. So, discipline is how you commit to your new set of rituals, or soon be habit stacks, which I'll explain. But these rituals are specific moments in your day where you are actively participating in creating the lifestyle you want. Discipline will often require us to take action we are not used to taking every day. And in order to achieve a result we've never experienced before, which is often uncomfortable, unusual, it can most of the time lead us further away from feeling on track. Before we do begin to feel on track, especially before we're or if we're newly reprogramming our brains, because it's not going to be instant gratification like Netflix or like watching a TikTok or seeing how many comments or likes we have on something. It's going to take a little bit. And it's the transformation of you seeing your effort towards those things as the reward. We're going to break that down even more. But before we do, once you get the hang of this new way of operating, you actually start to begin to connect with yourself in a way that you haven't experienced before, that you didn't have the awareness of it being possible. And life gets easier. You feel more full of gratitude, and things you want begin to come to you naturally because you're following your moral compass. And I have an entire blog post on self actualization that's on my website, isabellewellman.com, and it really helps you grow your self respect. All these things are pretty intertwined and very beneficial